All right, guys. So we're at the point now. I've added fiberglass to a couple edges that I just wanted to strengthen even more. The angled one on the back, the angled one on the top back. I added some fiberglass around the curve on the front, as well as the very bottom where the front kind of meets the trailer base. I put 2 coats of fiberglass with the 5:1 Totalboat Epoxy resin. But the more I take care of now, the less I'll have to take care of later. It's this little life lesson that I'm really trying to apply it in my life, because I feel like I'm always flying through things, and every single time I still make the same mistakes that could have been avoided if I took my time. We are here at the back of the trailer. I have here a piece of wood I just ripped on my table saw, because I realized when I do the epoxy and the bedliner, I want to incorporate doing my drawer sections at the same time because I want them to be waterproof. So I've got this here. Obviously we're gonna cut this in half and make 2 drawer slides. But my drawer fronts, rather, I'm going to have it sitting on this piece of wood halfway. Unfortunately, I didn't really think of that. I don't have much surface area for the drawer face to really pinch up against the wood. I'm gonna add a gasket later. It's also gonna come just under this plywood. I'm also gonna add a strip of plywood here with a little bevel. That way when water comes, it hits that little lip and drops over the drawer and not on the drawer. Ultimately, we're probably gonna get some water in these drawers at some point, moisture. That's okay. We'll do everything we can to avoid that, but we're not rocket scientists, unfortunately. One day. So I cut this piece of plywood, which will kind of protect, the sides of the drawers. The water will drip down the trailer, on a super rainy day, drip down here and drip over the trailer. Obviously water's incredible. Such a pain in the butt, but water can obviously stick to undersides of things, and if there's a slight angle, it can drip in. But hopefully that's not gonna be an issue. And I'm gonna do this now so I can do epoxy, and then everything can be waterproof together and have bedliner on it. My drawers are extra thick, and I'm using these slam latches, so I have to inset my whole slam latch just a little bit, so the grabber is actually hanging on to the main part of the trailer and not sliding with the drawer. If that makes any sense, please let me know. Always wear your mask. My bit's a little dull, as you can tell, with the smoke, I think. Not that smoky, eh? Oh, this is great. It looks like I know what I'm doing, I think. 23. It's painful, but I had to hand screw it with my little screwdriver here, because there's no room in there. It worked. Are you kidding me? Look at that. Doesn't come out until you unlock it. Well, we got the drawers working. They're working real well, real good. Boom, bang. And I got that side drawer. I put 2 slam latches on that side drawer because it's so big. I just figured it would need a little bit more strength, just in case you hit a big old bump coming down yonder road. I didn't film this part, but I've sanded the entire thing. Reason being is anytime you're using an epoxy product, and I've put 2 coats of deep penetrating epoxy from Totalboat on this entire thing. I've also done a couple of my seams with fiberglass and the 5-to-1 epoxy from Totalboat. Again, I don't know how necessary all this stuff is. If anything, we will see down the road which things survive and which things don't, because the entire shell has not been fiberglassed. I think it's overkill. It's also gonna take me like forever, okay? And I don't want this thing to take forever. But yeah, so the whole thing has been sanded. It's ready to go for my epoxy primer. I'm gonna use an epoxy primer from Totalboat. I've used it before on my mobile bar. It's really good for creating a surface for your final coat, whether it's a urethane or a paint of some kind. It kind of stabilizes your surface. This being wood, it is flexible and it will, you know, contract and shrink, which is the same thing. It will contract and expand. And so that epoxy primer soaks into that wood and creates more of a rigid and waterproof surface. The biggest issues with people putting bed liners or urethane based bed liners on wood, straight to wood, the wood will flex more than the bed liners at times, and that's when you're going to get cracking, etc. So by putting a couple coats of the epoxy primer on the entire shell, we're going to eliminate the possibilities of that happening. Like I said, I am the furthest thing from a professional, but I create this incredible content in order for us all to learn, because that's what life is all about, is putting our heads down and aiming for a goal, a lofty goal, a big goal, a dream. a pursuit. Because if we're not doing that in life, what's the point? Anyhow, so we're gonna go ahead and mix our epoxy primer. It's got a set for 30 minutes before you can use it. It just allows the chemical reaction to take place between the two-part epoxy primer. And then we're gonna go ahead and roll on our first coat, and then you can apply a second and third coat if you'd like, every 3 to 4 hours. I almost forgot to mention, to prep the surface for the epoxy primer, we're gonna use the Totalboat thinner. It's called Epoxy Primer Thinner 200. And again, this will prep the surface and remove any kind of contaminants from our surface before we do in fact use that epoxy primer. The reason I'm doing it now before I mix my epoxy primer is because it's got to flash off. It is a solvent based product, I think, so you want this thing to finish flashing off before we start putting on our coat. About 4 hours later, it's dry. So yeah, we're gonna scuff this up. I think I'm just gonna do it by hand with some sanding sponges. That way it's abraded before it fully cures, when it's gonna be really, really hard to sand it. So let's do that. I got it all taped off. I wiped the whole thing down a couple times. I even used some like Swiffer pads to get all the dust off. So we're gonna bedline the shell. I don't really know why we wouldn't. I mean, I think it just makes sense to do it. We're gonna probably have two different colors. We're gonna have the whole shell in olive drab green. Pretty pumped on that. And then the bottom drawer section will most likely be black. I think it'll kind of look nice with the two-tone. I don't know if I'm gonna paint the trailer yet. It's just a whole lot of work. It's already red, who cares right now. but I'll probably end up painting it, but just not today, baby. So I'm gonna mask up, mix my bed liner, and we're gonna just start going at it. So cue the music, let's hit it. It's still left, that's a good sign.
Like, I'm not touching it.
Okay.
You need to slow yourself down. Well,
Okay.
I'll push now. Okay?
Yeah, I need you to push now. Are you pushing?
Yeah.
Okay. Ha ha.